Hey guys, Size Talks back after another very long hiatus. The channel is not dead. My last video was only 2 years ago. I feel like it's been longer. This years between these videos, a lot of things have happened and have changed. Uh, Especially within the size community, which that's what Size Talks is all about. I was going to make sure that my next video was going to be something relevant on any significant changes in the size community. As I mentioned from my last two videos, that was 2 years ago and 5 years ago. Obviously, Resident Evil 9 is out now. Lady Dimitrescu has not come back yet, but we may see more of her influence because RE9 was a very good game, was very successful. She could make a comeback in some form. And then my other video, which is what this video is also about, I guess is almost like a part 3 about the size as a thing, a concept, a kink, a fetish, an interest, a hobby. Is it really becoming more mainstream? And I think in this video I showed several clips from some actresses and people in the music industry, also Twitch streamer Susu, who's on like the thumbnail there. Later on the video, I think I also had a clip from Rebecca Black. She did an interview with someone, I don't remember who, talking about her giantess edits that people have done of her. I think primarily they're from Doko Pop. I think that's how his name is pronounced, his username on Twitter, who does a lot of really good giantess edits of celebrities and other people. And in that video, without playing the whole thing, I think it was like I said that the size community kind of reaches its next plateau or pinnacle or whatever you want to call it if we finally see a like major celebrity doing something size related or admitting that they're into size on like TV or a movie that does very well. And then that'll be the thing where we're going to start seeing it way more often than not. It won't be seen as this like, taboo weird thing. You'll have, regular everyday people seeing it and talking about it, especially if they like it, especially if it's done well and they like it, or they like the scenario that it's from. People who aren't even into it will now be sort of kind of into it, or at least be looking into it. Now, whether or not you think that's good or a good thing or a bad thing, I know a lot of people don't like the idea of, randos or normies coming into their community, like the tourist the tourist effect or something along those lines, that they're not really into it. They're just looking around and seeing what's this all about. They don't really want to engage with anything. They're kind of lurkers in a Twitch chat type deal. Obviously, everything all depends on my channel or the opinions of myself. Personally, I don't think that's a bad thing. Something I also mentioned in the video is that for size to continue on in the future, more people have to get into it, and the only way they can is by engaging with the size community, seeing size content. That exposure is what'll link them to it, get them interested in it, and if they like it, especially for the long term, they might stick with it, and they become, lifelong members of the size community, maybe even future size content creators, and that keeps the community going, the cycle going, for a size community actually sticks around for a very long time. It doesn't, just fizzle out. It wasn't just, a fad or something. So particularly, I think this entire year we've had a bunch of size stuff back to back to back to back, and I think this is the most that we've ever had of like major breakthroughs in the size community, or of size content that has unintentionally or sometimes intentionally gotten into mainstream media or mainstream news or regular people talking about it. Um, and I do have some examples here. I can't show everything because obviously YouTube has rules. There's TOS. Don't want to violate that. Don't want to get my account banned. Don't want the video to get banned or anything like that. I know one of them I don't have on here was there was the Incredible Shrinking Man remake movie that's in French that came out, I believe, this year. Was actually pretty decent. Obviously this isn't like giant or giantess related, but shrinking is still a part of size. It's just the opposite end of the spectrum in relation to size. And then also there was the Shrinking Woman TV show, which I think is on Netflix. I think it's on one of the streaming programs, so it's on a major platform essentially. So it's kind of mainstream in that sense. And that show has actually really good effects, and a lot of people that aren't in the size are watching that show just because, people randomly watch things on Netflix all the time, even if they're not really interested in it, just because they're bored and want something to watch. And the show apparently is doing pretty well. Those are just a couple of examples, but most recently, we had this one from just a couple of days ago with the giant Chun-Li that's been making the rounds. This was basically a Fortnite glitch, where with I think it was like the llama emote or taunt or whatever it's called. I don't play Fortnite. I'm old. And then like the tag team shoulder jump emote. If you do that repeatedly, the person that gets on your shoulders or on the llama grows in size, and the other person actually gets smaller. So it's kind of like a one-way thing where the other person grows and you shrink, and people figure that out very quickly. Coincidentally, right after they re-released the Chun-Li character model into the game, so the person would just happen to be using the Chun-Li character model, and they did the emote and found this out. Unfortunately, Epic Games, who controls and runs Fortnite, they've already disabled it and removed it from the game. They're gonna patch it and fix it, which kind of sucks because it was kind of cool. We only really saw Chun-Li doing this emote before they patched it, and apparently they patched it like in like less than a few hours after finding out that this was a bug exploit. It would have been nice to see some of the other, because Fortnite has so many character models in that game. It would have been nice to see a few of the other female models, for myself personally, obviously, for obvious reasons, to see them become giant size. But I do see why that would be a problem in game. Having a humongous character model stomping around the battlefield just doesn't create a good player experience for the normies. Obviously, us in the size community, we would like that, but the people running the game would not, as well as the normies. So they got rid of it. So very conveniently timed that this glitch popped up when it did. Who knows if any other glitches like this will be found in the future. Also, Pink Panthers released her newest music video, which I cannot play it because that will definitely be TOS, copyright, whatever. But this is the screenshot where she technically does appear as a giant for a few seconds with her hand reaching down into the tiny city. And obviously she's becoming more and more popular now as a music artist. Her music video came out, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. I know people kind of overlook this because it's towards the end of the music video. It's only like a 3-minute music video, and this is like at like 2 minutes, and it's actually a very good music video, surprisingly, even outside of the sizey stuff. So there was that, and then the big one that just came out, I believe Sunday night, from the show Euphoria, which I do not watch at all. I didn't even know Sydney Sweeney was in it. I think she plays a character named Cassie. I guess in the storyline for the show, she is she is becoming or trying to be an aspiring like model or actress or OnlyFans type thing. And then to simulate her popularity, she experiences a growth sequence. There's actually 2 parts of the whole sequence. It's actually a very long sequence. People probably only saw part 1, or they're only seeing part 2. And the community is very divided on this right now, for obvious reasons, because she is a very big name, and this is Like I said, I can't show it. It's a YouTube TOS. This is I guess a screenshot of the second part of it. The first part, I would say, is probably the best growth sequence we've seen in a mainstream size related thing since the beginning of time. And I just want to throw that out there. The ending parts are like a lot of other older classic cheesy, whatever you want to call it, Giantess videos that you've probably seen a million times. The beginning part, the roast sequence where she's in her room and she starts to outgrow her room, is actually extremely well done. There was a little jump cutting in there, but like it's for the most part a continuous shot of her growing in size from her regular size to, you know, Amazon size to room filling size to actually growing out of her room or her house and continuously getting bigger the entire time until she reaches, you know, classic 50-foot woman size, which I think that's where she is right here. And then she proceeds to have more interactions that are sizey even after this point. So they kind of went all out for this. I have no doubt in my mind that the people who made this were studying some of the current side community content that's out there to get ideas for this shot. I was surprised Sydney Sweeney, who's a big name, agreed to do this. Big name celebrities usually don't like doing any type of, you know, stuff that's too fetishy or kink adjacent because they have an image that they need to maintain and this kind of like good guy, good girl image. But I also refuse to believe that the people who worked on this weren't probably former members of the size community that probably pitched this idea, and the execs or people who run the show actually agreed to it and like, yeah, that's a cool idea, let's do it. He also had that similar scene with another sizey thing with Gen V, you know, that show's about to end. Not with Cricket becoming big, but it was the pseudo sex scene with Cricket and the model fake plasticky penis thing that she was pretending to play with. That was also a mainstream show, and that was you know, that was a Tiny Woman. It was more shrinking than it was giant, but it was kind of interesting to see that scene in a show where they're like, they put a lot of effort into that, and even the practical effects of actually making like a giant size flaccid, well, I guess not flaccid, but penis model that she could ride on realistically, and then actually edit that into the show and like really commit to the bit for that. You know, that's definitely a sizey thing that someone who's into size would come up with, not like some rando stagehand working on a TV show, on a big name TV show with a fairly large budget. And for this one, they put a lot of budget into this. Knowing how much other content creators just they charge or it costs them to do scenes like this in their personal studios or houses, this was very big budget. Like the whole sequence probably was in the millions of dollars to do that sequence. I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't think the show would have that big of a budget just for one scene. It wasn't the longest scene. I think the whole thing is probably only like 5 minutes at most. But that's a very expensive scene to do just for that, to have, you know, the growth sequence and then plus her, you know, after she's fully enlarged and going through a city, a model city. That's pretty well detailed. I think they released a making of clip just a couple hours ago today as I'm recording this of the entire stage and set, and obviously there was a huge warehouse with a green screen, and the entire set for this city that they used was like, it was almost as big as the room. It's bigger than any like Gary Pranzo model city that you've seen in one of his videos. This was like the whole studio was like the city, a model city that she could rampage in and destroy. So they kind of really went all out for this, and I was kind of surprised. Like they put a lot of effort into that. Definitely had to be some sizey people working on the show to come up with that and help make that happen. Like I said, obviously the community is very decided on this right now, divided. A lot of people, like I said, they only saw parts. They're only seeing bits and pieces of the clips because the clips aren't really strung together correctly as they should be. And a lot of people don't watch the show, obviously. So a lot of people are not liking it. They're saying it's too cheesy, it's too crappy. They probably didn't see the growth sequence. The growth sequence was actually extremely well done. A lot of people don't like Sydney Sweeney. There's always gonna be the people who just hate celebs because they hate celebs. Everyone has some people just have personal bias against certain celebs. You can't change the minds of those people. They're already too biased. They're too far gone. Like if they don't like her, they don't like her. That's whatever. Personally, never a fan of her myself either. But like the growth sequence was extremely well done. My like or dislike of her doesn't matter at that point. And obviously, there's people who really do like this. They're like, okay, yeah, this was a really, really good clip. We haven't even within the size community, we haven't seen like a full sequence like that from any of the other major creators. Like I can't even think of it. I've been in the size community for a really long time, and I don't think I've ever seen a growth sequence transition into like a full city sequence that was that detailed. I don't think ever. And yeah, that's very high praise, and that also means something. That also means that maybe there is also there's people out there that are willing to spend a lot of money to make a sizey scene for a show that has the budget to do it, and it will do well. People will be interested in it, and it's possible that we could even see more of that in the future. Maybe not from even this show, because this usually is probably like a one and done thing. But other shows in the future won't be so shy if the situation calls for it and they can do a scene like that, even if they don't have as big of a budget as this show has, because this is an HBO show, I think. So HBO does have a decent amount of money. That they'd be willing to take a risk and try something like this just for, the views, the clicks, whatever you want to call it, the engagement that increases their profits. So we could see more of this, because like the majority of people are not hating this. I would say the majority actually really, really like this scene. Even from people that are not into size are highlighting it. It's like all over the news cycle for Sydney Sweeney right now about this Euphoria scene. They're only talking about this scene. They're not talking about the show or anything else. They're talking about this scene. And I think that's the important part where we could see more of this. Like I mentioned in my previous videos with like Lady Dimitrescu being like kind of broke the internet when she was revealed and her game in Resident Evil Village came out. And then obviously the Twitch streamers and the other celebrities that are also have had sizey art made of them, and them talking about it, that also increases engagement of getting people into size, or at least looking at it or talking about it or trying to learn more about it. Like to me, these are all good things. These are all good signs for the community moving forward. Even stuff like this, these are that are accidents that only are around for maybe a couple hours, are still good to see, because you see positive reactions like this from people who are seeing it, and they're definitely not hating it. So who knows where we might end up in the future. It's very good possible that I might even have to do a part 4 to this almost like miniseries that I have going on here on the channel for mainstream size content. But the thing, as I've mentioned to someone else, like I don't think we've like fully peaked yet, but we've definitely gotten extremely close. We're closer than we've ever been before, literally. With streaming platforms and these random shows that are having sizey stuff in it, and they're using their budget on these sizey scenes, and they're doing a good job with them, and the people in the size community are liking these scenes, and even the people that are not in the size community are also liking these scenes. I think we've just about made it about as high as we can get, where it becomes not normalized, but as just something that's accepted. Like, yeah, this is a thing that's out there. You may not like it, and you may think it's a little weird or different, but like it's out there. You don't need to be scared of it. It exists. There's people who like this type of thing that are perfectly harmless, that are just interested in it because it's a thing that they like. And hopefully we can, you know, see more stuff like this in the future from other TV shows, or even the same TV shows potentially, moving forward. Because like even from these two videos, it was like a 3-year gap from Liddy Dimitrescu in Resident Evil Village to Rebecca Black and Susu and these other celebrities talking about size and size content and people making edits of them, to now 2 years later after this video, to now we have, you know, Fortnite glitches, Giant Sydney Sweeney, Pink Panther's Giant, the Incredible Shrinking Man, the Shrinking Woman, Gen V. It's definitely increased significantly, and it's actually increased a lot more than I thought it would within literally a span of just 5 years from Resident Evil Village to now. We've gotten a lot of new size content, more than I even expected, and that's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, that's it. Didn't want to make this a super long video. Just wanted to mention that type of stuff. Who knows what my next video will be? I don't put a timetable on these. Whenever I feel like there's enough for me to talk about, I'll talk about it. So that's it for now. Until the next one, I'll see you all next time.